What's up, guys? It is Gray, aka the Okagura, and we're back with RWBY. And man, did I like this episode! Massive spoiler alert, so please, unless you have seen episode 13, volume 8, which I hope is the right episode, I'll make this really awkward. Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. Just making sure, because sometimes they didn't get numbers. Couple things before we start. One, next week is the finale, so make sure you stay tuned for that because I'm going to have a review of it. And then a week later, I'm going to try this. Apparently, uploading a reaction when it's for free on the website is fine. So I expect a review to go up around when the episode comes out next week. And then look for a reaction a week later when it's free to everyone. So stay tuned for that because I'm excited. Because, man, this volume has killed it. I think after this episode, I can safely say this volume has completely killed it. Let's just get in the episode, shall we? Oh, man. First, subscribe and like the video, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so, first and foremost, so we start off kind of continuing where our heroes were. At least Team Runger, I guess. Ren, Nora, John, Oscar. They're in the communications room that just got shut down, which we learned is by Watts this episode. By the way, Watts, you know what? We'll talk about it when we talk about it. Their communication, so they make a new plan. They're like, we're going to go through the portals. Me and Nora are going to go and tell people, you guys with Emerald is there, by the way. You go through the main portal and go to Vacuo. So we have three characters in Vacuo as we speak, and I think that'll probably be pretty important for the end in this volume and the next volume. So, right. As those three go, they walk through and they're like, "Oh my God, it's a sandstorm. We're in the middle of a desert." And they're like, "Isn't the city near here?" And they're like, "It should be." And then of course, there's no signal because of the sandstorm. So it's just really unfortunate for our heroes on that front. And as you'll quickly notice this episode, a lot is unfortunate for our heroes. Jean goes through a portal and gets a rock thrown at him on accident because he was trying to see, like, the people didn't know what they were. They were just big portals. Jean comes through and he's like, hey, like, come on, like, this is safe. People start going through. Originally I was going to have a screenshot of that, but I really wanted a picture of them in Vacuo because I feel like that's more important. Well, you'll see. Well, I don't think you'll see. I just think it's important that they're in Vacuo. That's an important piece that I want to show, that they are in a sandstorm in Vacuo at this time. At least those three. Team RWBY and Penny go through and they're like, wow, this is so cool. And they're like on their way. And then, okay. So they're on their way to the Vacuo portal. And then there's an explosion of fire. It's revealed that Cinder's there. She attacked. A bunch of people got blown off. So they're gone. We'll get to that when we get to it. Because obviously Ambrosius made a pretty big deal of the fact that don't fall. So we can only assume that it's bad, but it can't be that bad because, well, thumbnail. But either way. And then very quickly, there's a bit of a flashback. We go to where Neo confronted Cinder and Watts. And Watts was like, hey, and then she's like, no, let me handle this. And Cinder's like, my bad. I didn't give you RWBY. I'm sorry about that, but I promise this time we're going to get her, but I need the lamp. And she actually uses the lamp to ask a legitimately good question. She asks what their plan is, and now she knows, and that's what you see here. Jen just shows her what they're talking about, what their plan is. So Cinder knows now. And I do want to talk about this because I cannot believe this volume is going to potentially make me like Cinder. And you guys know, if you've seen any of my videos, you know I do not like Cinder at all. In fact, she's one of my least favorite parts of the show, if not at one point my least favorite part of the show. However, I love competent villains, and so far she has shown only competence along with that, trusting Watts. Or at least, trusting is probably a bad word. I don't mean trusting. Using Watts' talents. And let me tell you, Watts is the most powerful villain. I'm just going to say it. Watts is, I'm not even a joke. I think Watts is legitimately one of the most threatening villains we have. And it kind of ties into the next picture, I believe. Yes. So while it shows their plan, they go to communications room, Cinder, Neo, Watts, and they kill everyone there. And she's like, all right, Watts, there you go. He basically controls like all of Atlas now. And she's like, you deserve this, Watts. And he's like, and he eats an apple. It was very funny. But those two leave and Watts stays behind. And he does like a little bit of everything. One, he shuts off their communications, meaning that the one team that was really just going to tell everyone through their scrolls, they actually have to do it in person, so they're splitting them up. Two, Ironwood woke up in his cell. As you can see, Ironwood woke up and he was like, oh my god, like, what has happened? And as you might think, he might start reflecting on what was going on. Like, you might think that, like, is he going to, like, think about what he's done? His cell opens. It was probably Watts. We don't know for sure, but we can assume it was Watts. He walks out. He gets his big green gun. And then Jacques Schnee is like, hey, you gonna let me out too? He's like, yeah, man, sure. And he obliterates him. He kills Jacques Schnee. He's completely reduced to atoms. He's gone. Which was pretty intense, I thought. For I don't know. I just caught me off guard. I just kind of figured that character would have a last words with his children. But you know what? This is even better. And there's some really cool stuff with Ironwood later, too, that oh man, this episode was so good, guys. I love this episode so much. So much fun. And I also wanted to show that just because I thought it was crazy how Jacques Schnee, a character that's been, like, a presence for a couple volumes now at least, and, like, an overarching presence for the whole show is just dead like that. Moving on, I'm actually kind of curious. Right, so we cut back to the fight. And this is where, well, obviously not this, but what happens is Neo shows up in disguise as a person. Obviously, that's what she does. And she's running at RWBY, about to catch her with surprise with a sneak attack. Yang sees this. Yang uses her semblance, charges in front of her sister, takes the hit for her, gets knocked off, and falls. And it's a really powerful moment. One, because the soundtrack goes pretty hard. But two, you can kind of see Yang just slowly falling down. Blake gets there and tries to throw her. It has a name, her gun whip. And she throws, but it just barely doesn't reach, and Yang falls, and then she disappears. She just disappears. I guess we'll talk about it now. Obviously, I don't think Yang is dead. I don't think Yang is dead. That's not the show. No. They set up Bumblebee. There's going to be payoff to that, I promise. Yang is not going to be dead. Which kind of bums, like, it's not that I'm bummed that Yang isn't dead. I'm more bummed that the don't fall thing clearly didn't mean death. It probably means she either went somewhere, or maybe they'll get her back somehow. But I'm like 99% sure that Yang is not out of the show forever. The rest of the volume, probably. Forever, absolutely not. They could have a couple ways. We'll get to that when we get to predictions. But right now, I don't think Yang is dead. Blake is pretty upset about it, and she goes to try and help RWBY with Neo, because Neo's the one that knocked her off. And Penny hears their cries of distress, and I don't have her here. I tried to get a picture that had everybody in it, and I did a really bad job. But at the same time, Weiss is fighting Cinder, and then Penny shows up. So it's Penny and Penny and Weiss. And Penny, by the way, her new maiden powers, I thought she was not going to be able to do anything. No, she made like a cool, like, magic replicas of her swords, and she can fly with maiden. So she's pretty much the same, just without lasers, I guess. Magic instead of lasers. So it's a 2v1 and a 2v1. However, okay, real quick. RWBY's not enough to handle Neo on her own. Not from what we've seen. Neo's like a very high tier enemy. Well, she always has been. RWBY is good, but not that good. And she's not Grim, so she can't use her only cheat code. Cinder and Weiss, do I even have to... Penny, I think that fight's close enough, but still, I think Cinder's really powerful, and Penny's not as strong as she was, assumingly. So, but there was a moment. Well, also, okay, this is where I'm going to give credit where credit's due, because there was a comment by Lumin D on the Reddit, who I'm going to give credit to because this was a really good prediction, that Blake was torn by which part of the fight to help after Yang fell. And that's why they predicted that Blake's semblance is going to be upgraded to have a fully functional clone that can actually do stuff. Or she splits herself into two separate beings. So her semblance is going to get upgraded. I think that was a super genius prediction. And I just had to shout it out because I'm like, yes, Blake needs a buff. They've been showing it all volume that Blake isn't that effective. Her semblance isn't that useful. It really isn't. Now, another person had a counterpoint that Adam put it, Blake's semblance is good for running away, so perhaps her semblance can evolve into something where she can face something head on, and maybe it'll go hand in hand with her confessing her love to Yang. But that doesn't make sense to me, because why would she like say like, "Oh, Yang, I loved her," like, and out to know everybody? Like, that'd be just that'd be kind of awkward. Like, RWBY would be like, "Yeah, I love her too. What are you talking about?" You know what I mean? Like, it just wouldn't have the same impact. However, I do think she's gonna get a semblance upgrade for sure. Blake needs a buff. She's needed a buff for 3 volumes now. 4, 5, whatever. A lot of volumes now, and yeah, and I hope Weiss does something cool. Just, yeah. So that's another thing that it's not going good for our heroes. It just isn't. Okay, and then next, yes, okay. So we cut back to the hangar. Another Watts thing, by the way. A drone bot walks in, switches to red. Well, they're talking. They're like, hey, like they're in, sorry. Did a horrible job setting up this scene. Crow, Robin, and Marrow's holding them still. Crow and Robin are putting them in handcuffs, and they manage to do, not Elm. Elm is that guy. Who's the big hammer lady? I don't care. That one, Elm, and I don't care. It doesn't matter. They put her in cuffs. And the robot shows up. Alice is in the process of falling. The robot shows up and explodes on them. Marrow jumps in the way because he doesn't want them to die. His oar is broken. Harriet, being the worst, just the worst character on the planet, uses opportunity to run into the ship with the bomb, starts flying away. Elm grabs on with his stretchy arms, goes in. And then, oops, that was my phone. Sorry about that. They get there, and they're kind of like, they have like a talk. Like, Harriet's like, she's like, "Oh, good, Elm, you made it. I'm going to arm the bomb." And he's like, "Harriet, like, Ironwood's not in control anymore. Like, the city is falling. Now's not the time." And she's like, "This is what Clover would have done." And I think it was revealed that Harriet had feelings for Clover because she started like breaking down a little bit as she started talking about him. And he was like, "You cared for him." So clearly, I think that's what that means, that she had like a thing for Clover, which is, maybe going back, it makes sense, but whatever. It doesn't have anything. And you can kind of see Elm kind of starting to get through. And he's like, maybe Clover was wrong too. And then, of course, Robin, unfortunately, has also hijacked the ship, rams into their ship, knocking Elm over. Harriet runs up to the cockpit, sets it on manual. And as she's up there, Crow flies towards the windshield as a bird, turns into a man, and starts fighting. He broke in the. It was so. It was. I'm almost bummed I didn't get a screenshot of that, because that was amazing. That was incredible. As a bird just flew into the windshield, turned into a man, and started fighting Harriet. They fall down. And they're fighting in the bomb room. And then another Watts thing. He takes control of the ship and starts piloting it somewhere. We don't know where. Because I believe it cuts off before we get to the resolution of that. But still, oh my god, Watts is... Okay, I think I'm going to talk about it now. Watts is easily... I've already talked about how I thought Watts was like the most dangerous villain. And he is. He's demonstrated time and time again that his expertise isn't fighting. He's not very good at fighting. But it's playing 4D chess, knowing what will separate our members, our protagonists. I love it. I hope Watts sticks around, because he is truly a threat. He's a legitimate threat, and I hope that whatever Cinder does, I just hope that he sticks around either with that or with Salem, or something with someone to work with. And then, okay, I will say that predictions. We'll get some predictions real soon. We're almost done. Not last thing, but one of the last things is Winter is going down into the vault room. I don't really know why she's down there, but she is. And then Ironwood shows up. She gets shot at. Ironwood, she's like, "Hey, I always thought I was going to get betrayed. I was paranoid, but I didn't think it would be by you." And he's like, "I'll give you one warning, step aside." And she has a super raw line. It's freaking awesome. Where she's like, "I've always protected Atlas against its biggest threats, and that won't change now," or something along those lines. And she draws her 2 swords. And Ironwood, holding his gun, sheds a tear. He cries about this, at least silently, which was a great showing of his semblance in action, because clearly he doesn't want to do this at all. But his face is completely stoic during this whole thing. And that's I think it was just a really, really good showcase of his semblance and what it is. I wish they would have talked about it in the show a little bit, because this is like something that only if you like pay attention to RWBY lore outside you would notice. Because otherwise you just think he's crazy, which like, okay, don't get me wrong, he kind of is, but I mean, his semblance is just, if you don't know, Ironwood's semblance is metal, and it means that he gives him the drive to do what he thinks is right. Basically, his iron will, if you will. So really, his semblance is making it to where he can do these crazy things because he believes that in the end result, it will be the right thing. So in his head, he still thinks that he's right. It's just crazy. So we're going to, by the way, it cuts away. So we're going to have an Ironwood versus Winter fight, which is going to be sick. Oh, man. And then that's the last picture I had, but it does cut back to the people in Vacuo, or at least all the people that have come through so far. It's revealed that the door is indeed one way because Weiss accidentally said a one-way trip to Vacuo. So, Ambrosius was like, oh, one way, you say? Well, don't mind if I do. Because they realize something is wrong because people haven't come through yet. Like some of the protagonists. They're like, hey, where's like Nora and Penny? And then as I say that, Ren's semblance gives out because he's a whole ton. Literally, guys, we're at 2 cities full of people. And well, not yet, but there's going to be 2 cities full of people there. And Ren just couldn't use his semblance that long to keep them all hidden. And right when he stops, a horde of Grim in the middle, Grim in the middle of a sandstorm show up to start attacking people. Wow, what an episode. It went south so fast for our heroes. It was incredible. I'm so worried. So, real quick. Typically, I always feel like the last episodes of volumes are pretty weak. If they can keep this momentum, this will easily be the best volume of RWBY ever. It won't even be close. This volume has been so good so far. Just an absolute banger. And I'm praying that it can end strong because it's so good so far. Okay, predictions. We'll just go in order, shall we? About the Yang thing. Obviously, I don't think she's dead. I've already talked about that. And if the opening is anything to go by, which if you watch the opening, it shows all of them falling, assumingly the rest of Team RWBY will also fall into the pit. I don't know that, but if that's what it's setting up, that's what it's setting up. Which, once again, I don't think anyone's going to die. Another thing, Raven. Will Raven save Yang from this? Potentially. How would she know that she was in danger, though? I don't know. Unless that was explained at one point. I don't know how she would know that she needs help, so I'm not holding my... Also, Raven said she gets, like, she's going to help her once, so I'm going to... Raven seems like the type to commit to that, so I wouldn't hold out for Raven. As far as, like, what do I think is going to happen with Vacuo? I definitely think Sun and his friends are going to show up and help. I think they're going to be like, hey, we heard your call for distress or something. They're going to show up. At least Sun and his group, probably way more, because it's like a whole horde of Grim fighting. And that'll be really sweet because we'll get to see some like characters interact that don't really get to interact too much. But I think that's what's going to happen there. As far as the fight with Cinder in the room, I've already talked about, I think Blake is going to get a semblance upgrade. I think it's long overdue. I actually don't have a big prediction for that, only besides the fact that they all end up falling. Maybe like they'll be cornered and they'll be like, well, might as well jump instead of face my death there. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm hoping that we get to see Whitley and Winter. Not I do want to see Winter, but Willow, that's her name, Willow. Whitley and Willow end up getting to safety. And as far as like Winter versus Ironwood goes, I imagine Ironwood should win that, but who knows? I really don't know. I mean, obviously I think Ironwood is a stronger character. I hate his big, dumb green gun. I want him to just use his pistols because they're way cooler and more like epic when they fight, but either way, that's going to be sweet. Atlas is in the process of falling though, so I don't want them both to die. That'd be terrible. As far as like Watts, I don't know how he's going to get out. Now, Emerald, I think at this point it's pretty clear cut that Emerald and Cinder are not going to meet up with each other. At least I don't think. Would it seem weird if Cinder like walked through the portal like, what's up? And everyone's like, oh, okay. I don't know. So maybe Emerald will stick around with the good guys for a while since I think they'll be separated, I'm assuming. And overall, as I said, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for next week. This has just been an incredible episode, incredible volume. And yeah, I don't even know how much to say. I just feel like I'm going to keep repeating myself that I'm excited, which is good. Because most of the time by this point, RWBY, I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And I'm making sure that I didn't miss anything in the episode because I know I want to talk about predictions. Yeah, as far as like the whole Robin and Crow thing, I have no idea what's going to happen with that. Penny might end up dying, actually. Maybe Penny will save herself for one of them, and that's how they'll get main powers. Maybe Penny will die, and she'll be thinking of Yang. And then that would be crazy. I don't know. I really don't know. Either way, I'm stoked. I hope you guys are too. I feel like 20 minutes is a good place to end it. So I will. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Subscribe, like the video. My hero in a couple days is going to be sweet. And in a week, you're going to get RWBY. And then in a week later, you should be getting my reaction. Either way, guys, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Until next time.